"If you don't want the nursing home, then get out right now." That was what my son screamed on the sidewalk in front of everyone passing by that afternoon. Mrs. Peterson dropped her grocery bags on the ground in shock. The guy from the pharmacy stood frozen in the doorway, just watching. A couple walking down the street quickly crossed to the other side to avoid the scene. The sun was beating down hard on my face, but what was really burning was something else, a fire inside. Stephanie was leaning against the glass storm door, scrolling through her phone with indifference, that little smirk playing at the corner of her mouth. I stood there, paralyzed, clutching my fabric tote bag. My body locked up. I didn't cry. I just felt like something deep inside me had shattered into 1,000 pieces, but no tears came out. You know that exact moment when you realize you've lost someone who never really saw you? It was right there, in that precise second, in front of neighbors who have known me for 30 years. The down payment for that house came out of my pocket. His college tuition, I paid for it by washing other people's clothes until dawn. 3 days later, a black town car pulled up in front of his house. Robert's face lost all its color when he saw it, but I had done something he never expected I was capable of. Robert was born on a crisp September morning. His father died 6 months later in a terrible motorcycle accident on the interstate. I was 29, had an old Singer sewing machine, and an unbreakable decision. This boy was going to have everything I never had. I started sewing at night. Dress pants, hemming skirts, fixing zippers, anything that paid a few dollars. Robert slept in a crib. I lined myself with fabric scraps. I would look at him and think, this will be worth it. When he was 7, I was sewing uniforms for the public elementary school. It was 300 uniforms a month. My fingers bled from the needle pricks, but the money paid for his private school. I wanted him to learn Spanish, computer science, sports, things I never had the chance to know. At 15, Robert got into a technical high school, the best in the county. But the tuition cost almost half of what I made. That was when I sold my mother's house. It was a small plot of land in the old neighborhood. My mother had passed away 2 years prior and left it to me. I sold it for $45,000. I paid 3 years of high school in advance and saved the rest for his college. Robert didn't know. I never told him. I just told him I had figured it out. He grew up studious, polite, respectful. He called me Mom with affection. When he got into engineering at State University, I cried for 3 days straight, not from sadness, from pride. My son was going to be an engineer. College required expensive materials, imported textbooks, a scientific calculator, a laptop. I started cleaning houses on the weekends. Monday to Friday, I sewed. Saturday and Sunday, I cleaned for wealthy families. I'd come home at 10 at night, legs swollen, but Robert's smile when he opened the box of a new book made every minute worth it. He graduated at 24, top of his class. He landed a job at a large construction firm. 3 months later, he rented a 2-bedroom apartment. He asked me to move in with him. "Now it's my turn to take care of you, Mom." I left the house I was renting and went with him. I took my Singer machine, my fabric bag, and a photo of his father. I thought I had arrived where I always dreamed, close to my son, watching him rise. That was when I met Stephanie. She appeared one Sunday, in high heels and a designer handbag. Perfect straight hair, manicured nails, strong perfume. Robert introduced her with a wide smile. "Mom, this is Stephanie. We've been together for 4 months. I greeted her warmly. She shook my hand quickly, looked around the apartment and said, "So this is where you live, Robert? I thought it was bigger." It was quick, subtle, but I felt it. Robert laughed, embarrassed. I pretended I hadn't heard anything. I served coffee and some banana bread I had baked that morning. Stephanie took 1 bite and left the rest on the plate. "I'm on a diet, sorry." After that day, she started showing up more often, always with a critical opinion. "This sofa is outdated, Robert. These curtains don't match anything. You need to change this stuff if you want to host decent people." Robert changed. Slowly, but he changed. He bought a new sofa. He changed the curtains. He started going out every weekend with her. I stayed alone in the apartment, sewing on the balcony. 6 months later, they got engaged. Robert told me in the kitchen while I was washing dishes. I hugged him, told him I was happy. And I was, or at least I tried to be. But something deep in my chest didn't feel right. At the wedding, Stephanie wore a white dress that cost $4,000. Robert paid for everything. Big reception, 200 guests, full catering. I wore a simple dress I sewed at home. Stephanie looked at it and said, "Oh, that's cute, Evelyn. Did you make that yourself?" The tone wasn't a compliment. 3 months after the wedding, they bought a house, 2 blocks away. Robert came to pick me up. "Come live with us, Mom. The house is big. There's a room just for you." I went. Again, I took my singer, my bag, and the photo. I thought that now, with more space, everything would get better. But it didn't get better. Stephanie started changing things, fast, and I felt that something was beginning, something that was going to hurt much more than I imagined. The first rule appeared in the second week. Stephanie put a paper on the fridge. House rules. It said the kitchen could only be used until 8 p.m. After that, it was her territory. I had always sewed late, and when I finished, I'd go heat up some coffee, have a piece of toast. Now I couldn't. Robert saw the paper. He said nothing. I started eating dinner earlier. Sometimes I went hungry in the middle of the night, but I didn't complain. I thought it was just a matter of organization. Stephanie liked order. That's fine. Then came the second rule. No laundry in the morning. The noise of the machine woke her up. I had always done laundry early, for as long as I can remember, but I accepted it. I started washing in the afternoon when she went out. The third rule was about the living room. I couldn't sew there anymore. It leaves the living room cluttered, Evelyn, and Robert's clients come here sometimes. I moved to the porch. In the heat, in the cold, it didn't matter. I adapted. Robert saw everything. But when I looked at him, he looked away. 2 months later, something happened that cut deeper. I had a small radio. It belonged to my husband. He listened to football games on that radio every Sunday. After he died, I kept it. When I moved to the new house, I put the radio on my nightstand. Every now and then I'd turn it on, just to listen to music. One day, I came back from dropping off some sewing work, and the radio wasn't there anymore. I looked everywhere. Nothing. I went to the living room. Stephanie was on the couch, on her phone. "Stephanie, have you seen my radio?" She didn't even look up. "That old radio? I tossed it. It didn't work right." I felt my chest tighten. "But it was my husband's." "It was junk, Evelyn. The house needs space." Robert walked in at that moment. I looked at him. He looked at the floor. "Mom, she didn't know. Let it go." She didn't know? I had told her. The first week I lived there, I showed her the radio and said it was Robert's father's. She knew, and she threw it away anyway. I swallowed hard, went back to my room, cried quietly with the door closed. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't in a home. I was in a place where I was tolerated. Barely. The worst was yet to come. Robert and Stephanie had a son, Mason, my grandson. He was born in a warm December, and I thought that would change everything. I thought being a grandma would give me a place again. In the beginning, I helped. I changed diapers, rocked him to sleep, sang the songs I used to sing to Robert. Stephanie let me because it was useful. But when Mason turned 1, everything changed. I was in the living room, playing with him on the rug, stacking colored blocks. Mason was laughing, clapping his hands. Stephanie walked in, picked him up abruptly, and said, "Mason, come on, Grandma has to work." I didn't have to work. It was my free time. But she took him away, closed the bedroom door. I was left alone in the living room with the blocks scattered on the floor. After that, every time I tried to hold Mason, Stephanie had an excuse. "He's sleepy. He just ate. Let him be, Evelyn." For Mason's 2nd birthday, they threw a party. Stephanie invited her whole family, her parents, her siblings, her sisters-in-law. I helped set up. I blew up balloons, put tablecloths on the tables, cut the cake. At photo time, Stephanie gathered everyone. "Come on, family! Photo with the birthday boy!" I started to approach. Stephanie extended her hand, blocking me. "Just immediate family, Evelyn. We'll take another one later." The other one never happened. I stood to the side, holding a plate of sweets, watching them smile for the camera. Mason in the center, surrounded by people. Me, the grandmother who raised his father alone, stood outside the frame. Robert saw. I know he saw. But he didn't say anything. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed and realized something. It wasn't just distancing. It was erasure. They were erasing me. slowly, with politeness, but they were. And it was on that night that I started to protect myself. I opened the dresser drawer. I took out an old folder where I kept documents, old receipts, proof of payment for Robert's college, copies of bank transfers, everything that proved what I had done for him. I put everything in the back of the closet. I didn't know what for yet, but something inside me said, "You're going to need this," and I was going to need it. It was a Thursday, late March. Robert came home early from work. Stephanie wasn't there. Mason was sleeping. He sat at the kitchen table, nervous, wringing his hands. "Mom, I need to talk to you." I was drying dishes. I stopped, turned around. "Speak, son." He took a deep breath, rehearsed. I felt it instantly. "We have a problem. The company delayed my bonus 2 months, and we have bills to pay. A lot of bills. The car payment, the mortgage, Mason's preschool." I said nothing, just waited. "I need a loan, temporary, just until the payment clears. About $20,000. It was almost everything I had, saved over years, every hem, every floor scrubbed, every cent saved. It was my security, my cushion, in case something happened. How long to pay it back? 3 months. Max. I'll sign a paper, Mom, a document, whatever you want." I looked into his eyes. I looked for my son, the boy I rocked, fed, clothed, but I only saw fear and something else, something I didn't want to believe. "Does Stephanie know about this?" He looked away. "It was her idea to ask you." There. That was the answer. "Okay, Robert, I'll lend it, but I want everything in writing, notarized document, with a deadline, interest, and penalties." He was surprised. "Mom, you don't need all that. I'm your son. That's exactly why. I want everything done right." He accepted. Too quickly. The next day, we went to the notary. I had already prepared the document. Loan of $20,000, 90-day term, 2% interest per month, 10% penalty in case of late payment. Robert signed. I signed. The notary stamped it. When we left, I handed him the check. But before that, I took pictures of the document, 3 pictures, saved them on my phone and emailed them to myself. I made a copy of the check, wrote down the date, time, location, mother's intuition, the kind that never fails. The 3 months passed. Not a cent came back. I waited another week. Then I went to Robert. He was in the driveway, washing the car. "Son, the deadline is up." He didn't even look at me, kept wiping down the hood. "Oh, Mom, give me a little more time. The company hasn't paid out properly yet." "But you signed a document." "I know, but it's complicated. Just relax. Just relax." As if $20,000 were crumbs. I waited 2 more weeks. Nothing, not a dollar, not a conversation. Robert avoided me. Stephanie pretended I didn't exist. Then I saw it. A new car in the driveway. A silver SUV, brand new, with a red bow on the rearview mirror. I felt the blood rush to my head. I walked into the house. Stephanie was in the living room, taking a picture of the car through the window. "New car?" She turned around, smiling. "Oh, yes, Robert's gift to me. Beautiful, right? And the money he owes me?" Her smile died. "What money, Evelyn?" $20,000, overdue loan." "Oh, that." She shrugged dismissively. "He'll pay you, when he can. Relax. Relax." Robert arrived at that moment, saw my face, saw hers. "Mom, don't start. Don't start. You borrowed money from me, signed a document, and now you buy a new car? It's different. This car was planned. We needed it. And I don't need my money?" Stephanie cut in. "Geez, Evelyn. He's your son. You're going to charge him money? What kind of mother does that?" I felt something snap inside me. I looked at Robert, waited for him to defend me, to say something. He said nothing, just sighed and said, "Mom, stop. You're making a scene for nothing. I'll pay you. Just don't be a pain right now." Be a pain. $20,000, years of work, and I was being a pain. "Robert, you signed a document. So what? Are you going to sue me? Your mother is going to sue you over money?" Stephanie laughed, a dry, cruel laugh. Robert didn't laugh, but he didn't defend me either. I went back to my room, took the document, took the photos, the copies, the email, everything. I put everything in a separate binder, and I knew the public blow would come later. 2 weeks later, it happened out front. It was a Saturday morning. I had come back from the grocery store. 2 bags in hand, walking slowly up the sidewalk. Mrs. Peterson was sweeping her porch. The guy from the pharmacy was arranging plants out front. A couple was walking their dog down the street. I got to the gate, put my hand on the latch, locked. I rang the doorbell. Once, twice, 3 times. Robert opened the front door, but he didn't open the gate. "Mom, we need to talk." I felt something strange in his tone. Cold. Final. "Open the gate, son. My bags are heavy." Stephanie appeared behind him. Arms crossed. That look. "Evelyn, we can't do this anymore. You need to leave." "What do you mean?" Robert took a deep breath, like someone about to say a rehearsed line. "We decided. You don't live here anymore. We found a spot for you at Sunrise Assisted Living. It's a good place. They have assistants, people your age. It'll be better." Nursing home. He was sending me to a nursing home. "Robert, I am your mother." "I know, but we can't handle it anymore. We need space. Stephanie is pregnant again, and you keep complaining about everything. Asking for money, creating a bad vibe in our house. Our house. The house I helped pay for. I'm not going anywhere. This house is mine too." Stephanie let out a laugh. "Yours? You didn't pay for anything here, Evelyn. This house is ours. I paid the down payment. $30,000. Prove it." Stephanie stared me down. "Where's the proof?" I had it, stored away, but it wasn't the time to show it there. "Robert, listen to me. I'm your mother. I raised you alone. I sold my mother's house to give you an education. I worked nights so you could have everything. And now you're going to throw me in a nursing home?" He looked away, but he didn't back down. Stephanie stepped forward. "Evelyn, you already did what you had to do. Now let us live. Either you accept the home or you leave." Silence fell over the street. Mrs. Peterson stopped sweeping. The pharmacy guy stood still, watching. The couple crossed to the opposite sidewalk, but their eyes were glued here. I looked at my son, and he said, "If you don't want the nursing home, then get out right now. Get out." My son, my only son. The boy I rocked on feverish nights, whom I clothed, fed, protected. He was kicking me out, in front of everyone. The sun burned my face, but what really burned was inside my chest. Mrs. Peterson dropped her broom on the ground. The pharmacy guy lowered his head. Nobody said anything. They just watched. Stephanie leaned against the glass door, playing on her phone, smirking. I gripped my fabric bag tight, my body locked. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just felt that something inside me had died. But at the same time, something had been born. I turned my back, picked up the bags, walked. I didn't look back. I went to Carol's house, an old client who lived 3 streets down. She took me in. Didn't ask much. Just said, "Stay here as long as you need." 2 days I stayed in bed, crying, replaying every memory, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, everything I did, everything I gave, and how it ended. On the 3rd day, I got up. The first 2 days at Carol's house were the darkest of my life. I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. No appetite, no will to get up. Carol brought food, left it on the nightstand. I ate little, just enough not to die. At night, the memories came, all at once. Robert as a baby, crying with colic. Me walking with him in my arms at dawn, singing softly until he slept. Robert at 7, coming home with his report card. Straight A's in math, him jumping, hugging me, saying, "Look, Mom, look." Robert as a teenager, helping me carry grocery bags, holding my hand to cross the street. And now he kicked me out in front of everyone. I cried until I had no more tears, until my throat hurt, until my chest felt empty. But on the 3rd day, I woke up different. I got up, washed my face, looked in the mirror. I saw a 68-year-old woman, tired, hurt, but still standing. And I thought, it can't end like this. I grabbed my phone, called Carol. "Can you drive me to Robert's house, just to get my things?" She hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I am." We went in the middle of the afternoon. Robert was at work, Stephanie was out. Only the housekeeper was there. She knew me. She let me in. I went straight to my room, I took clothes, shoes, the Singer machine, and the document binder. I went back to Carol's house. I locked the bedroom door, dumped everything on the bed, and started organizing. First, the college receipts, 15 receipts, tuition paid between 2002 and 2007, all in my name. Total value, $52,000, adjusted. Then, the proof of my mother's house sale, $50,000, deposited into my account, used entirely for Robert's education. Proof of bank transfers, dozens of them. Money I sent to his account during college, for food, supplies, transport. I summed it all up, $28,000. Then, the deed to the house where he lives now. There, in the down payment clause, was my name. I had given $30,000 for the down payment. It was registered, signed. And finally, the loan document, $20,000, overdue, interest and penalties accumulated. Updated total, $23,000. I grabbed an old calculator Carol lent me, sat on the bed. I started adding. College, $52,000. Mom's house, $50,000. Transfers, $28,000. House down payment, $30,000. Loan, $23,000. Total, $183,000. I looked at that number, took a deep breath. It wasn't about money. It never was. But now, it was about justice. I took an empty shoebox, lined it with paper, organized everything by date. I used colored paper clips, made notes in the margins, calculated interest, separated copies. Every document, a proof, every receipt, a truth they tried to erase. When I finished, it was already night. Carol knocked on the door. "Evelyn, is everything okay?" I opened it, showed her the box. "Now it is." She looked, understood. "You're going after your rights?" "I am." "Do you need help?" "I need a lawyer," Carol thought, then smiled. "I know someone. Mr. Harrison, an old client, honest, a good fighter. Can you get an appointment?" "Tomorrow morning." I thanked her, went back to the room, sat on the bed with the box in my lap. For the first time in days, I felt something other than pain. I felt strength. The next day, I had an ally. Mr. Harrison's office was in a small room on the second floor of an old commercial building above a shop. Wooden door, discreet plaque. Carol rang the buzzer. He opened it himself. Gray hair, 60-something, simple tie, reading glasses hanging from his shirt pocket. He greeted me with a firm handshake. "Ms. Evelyn." Carol told me a little bit. "Come in, please." I sat in a worn leather chair. He sat on the other side of the desk. Carol stayed by my side. "Tell me what happened." I told him everything, from the beginning. Widowhood, sacrifices, Stephanie's arrival, humiliations, the loan, the public eviction. I spoke slowly, without crying. Just facts. He listened, took notes, didn't interrupt me once. When I finished, he asked, "Do you have proof?" I put the box on the table. He opened it, took the first document, then the second, then all of them. He read them one by one, slowly, calculating, checking dates, cross-referencing information. It took almost an hour. When he finished, he took off his glasses, looked at me. "Ms. Evelyn, you have a solid case. Very solid." I felt my chest tighten, with relief. The loan alone is enough for a debt collection suit. With the notarized document, you win easily. But there's more, much more. He picked up the house deed. You are listed as the payer of the down payment, $30,000. This gives you a right to a portion of the property. They cannot kick you out of a house you helped buy. Then he picked up the college receipts. This here is uncompensated investment. In some cases, courts recognize this as a moral debt. It's not guaranteed, but it adds to the case. He looked at me. "But I need to ask you something. Do you just want the money back, or do you want real justice?" "Real justice." He nodded. "Then I'm going to tell you something I discovered." He pulled out a folder, opened it. It had social media printouts. "Carol gave me your son's name. I did a basic search. Social media, public records, that stuff. And I found something." He showed a photo. Robert, Stephanie, but in between them, a blonde woman, young, holding hands with Robert. This photo was posted 3 weeks ago, at a restaurant in the next town over, tagged by her. Her name is Ashley. She works at the same firm as your son. I felt my stomach turn. There's more. I asked a colleague, a private investigator, to check his spending. Credit cards, movements. In the last 6 months, your son spent $50,000. Expensive dinners, hotels, gifts, trips. $50,000, while he owed me $23,000. The construction firm didn't delay any payment. I called pretending to be from accounting. His payments are up to date. They always were. So it was all a lie. The story about the delay, the financial struggle, it was all theater. To take my money. Mr. Harrison continued. And there's one more thing. The car he bought? It was financed, but it's in Stephanie's name. If he owes you money and bought assets in his wife's name, that's fraud. He gathered everything, organized it into a pile. Ms. Evelyn, here is what we have. Collection of overdue debt with interest and penalties, claim on part of the property, evidence of asset diversion, and a social bomb that will destroy their reputation. What do? We mount a strategy on 3 fronts. Legal, I file a civil lawsuit and ask for a lien on assets. Social, you confront him in front of the family. And emotional, you free yourself from all this. He leaned forward. But you need to understand, this is going to hurt him. It's going to expose him. It will probably end his marriage. Are you prepared? I thought about everything. The public humiliation, the radio thrown away, the nights of hunger, the birthday photo I wasn't in, the door he didn't open. I am. Mr. Harrison smiled, discreet, respectful. Then let's make the plan. We spent the next 2 hours organizing everything. He prepared the initial complaint, debt collection lawsuit with a request for an emergency injunction to freeze assets. Attached all documents, calculated updated debt, $23,000 and change. Then we set up the confrontation strategy. You need to choose the place. It has to be where the whole family is. Birthday, Sunday barbecue, some gathering. The more people, the better. Stephanie's mother's birthday is in 3 weeks. They always do a big backyard BBQ. Perfect. You will show up there, with the evidence, with me along if you want. And you will put everything on the table, literally. What if he denies it? He won't be able to. The evidence is too solid, and the revelation of the mistress will crumble him. Stephanie will flip out. The family will see everything. He will break. Mr. Harrison took my hand, fatherly, firm. Ms. Evelyn, you spent your life serving. Now it's time to be served. By justice. I left the office with the box of evidence under my arm and a copy of the lawsuit in my bag. Mr. Harrison filed the suit the next day, and I started to prepare. The day arrived. The week of Stephanie's mother's birthday arrived like any other, but inside me, nothing was the same. I wasn't the woman who left that sidewalk crying anymore. I was cold, alert, awake. On Monday, I spread all the papers on the bed at Carol's house. Receipts, deed, loan contract, the screenshots Mr. Harrison had given me, everything. I started to build an order. First, what showed my history with Robert, college, transfers, house down payment. Then, the unpaid loan. Finally, the proof of the mistress and the spending. I put everything in clear plastic sleeves, each sheet in a sleeve. I took a hard binder, separated by tabs, college, house, loan, fraud, double life. I wrote in pen on each label. When I closed the binder, it felt heavy. It wasn't just paper. It was my life in there. On Tuesday, Mr. Harrison called me. Everything went well with the filing. The judge has already received it. Now it's a matter of time. But the social impact will happen first, as agreed. Are you steady? I am. He took a deep breath. Then do this. Take only copies of the documents to the barbecue. The originals stay with me. If someone tries to snatch them from your hand, they won't get the main thing. I wrote that down. That same day, I went to the print shop with Carol, made sharp copies of everything. The copies went into the binder I was going to take. The originals, in another smaller folder, stayed with the lawyer. On Wednesday, I thought about my outfit. It might seem silly, but for me, it was important. I didn't want anything flashy. I didn't want to look desperate. I wanted to look whole. I chose a dark skirt, a light blouse without a pattern, and a pair of comfortable shoes. In the mirror, I saw a simple woman, but firm. On Thursday, I sat in front of the mirror with an old notebook. I wrote the phrases I needed to say, direct. No screaming, no drama. phrases that put everything in its place. I lent you $20,000, Robert, and you bought a car. The down payment on your house came out of my pocket. You lied about a salary delay while you were spending on another woman. I read aloud, repeated, until the voice came out clean. Carol came into the room and listened to me. Don't you think it's too heavy? Heavy was what they did to me, I replied. Now it's just the truth. She nodded. Then practice looking forward, not at the paper. He doesn't deserve to see you shaking. On Friday night, I packed my bag. ID, glasses, the binder with copies, a folded handkerchief, and my old key, the only physical memento of the house I sold to pay for Robert's school. I put the key in the inner pocket of the bag. It was a way to remember where I came from. On Saturday, I woke up early, took a shower calmly, put my hair in a simple bun, made strong coffee in Carol's kitchen. My hand shook a little when I lifted the cup, but my heart was steady. At 10:30, the phone rang. It was Mr. Harrison. Remember, you aren't going there to ask for anything. You're going to return what they did to you. I'll arrive a little later, okay? So it doesn't look staged. When you start talking, I'll walk in. Okay. And another thing. You don't scream. You don't curse. Just show. The ones making noise will be their consciences. I smiled grimly. Understood. At 11:30, Carol drove me to Stephanie's mother's house. It was in a nearby neighborhood, a 2-story house with a porch and an iron gate. When the car stopped, I saw balloons in the driveway, plastic tables set up, the smell of barbecue, people laughing. I stayed a few seconds inside the car, holding the bag on my lap. Do you want me to go with you? Carol asked. No, this part is mine. I opened the door. The sun hit my face. The same sun that saw me humiliated in front of my house was now going to see me walk in with my head held high into another. I walked slowly to the gate. My heart was beating fast, but my steps were firm. I rang the doorbell. It was one of Stephanie's sisters who opened it. She looked me up and down, surprised. Evelyn? You here? I came to wish your mother a happy birthday. She hesitated a second, but opened the gate. When I walked in, I saw Robert way in the back, near the grill, talking to 2 men. Stephanie was at the table, arranging plates. Her mother sitting smiling with a cake in front of her, kids running back and forth. Mason, too. For an instant, my chest tightened. It could be a normal family day, but it wasn't. Stephanie's sister announced loudly, "Look who's here! Evelyn!" Several eyes turned to me. Some with strangeness, others with curiosity. Robert froze for a second. Stephanie frowned. I took a deep breath, gripped the strap of my bag, walked in. When I walked in, the noise continued for a few seconds, as if nothing had happened. Then gradually, the conversations died down. I walked to the middle of the driveway, where the biggest table was set up. I stopped there. I didn't sit. Robert put down the grill tongs. Stephanie stood up, plate in hand. Her mother looked at me, confused, but polite. "Hi, Evelyn," she said. "I didn't know you were coming." "Neither did they," I replied. "But today I needed to come." My voice came out steady. No tremor. Robert came closer. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I came to celebrate your mother-in-law's birthday and take the opportunity to set some things straight." I put the bag on the table, opened it calmly, took out the hard binder with the separate tabs, placed it in front of everyone. "Is the show starting?" Stephanie muttered, loud enough for half the table to hear. I looked at her, didn't answer, looked at Robert. "You have 5 minutes to sit down and listen to me like a man, like a son. If you don't want to, we settle this another way." He looked around, saw the stairs, saw the awkwardness, sat down. Stephanie sat next to him, but leaning forward, ready to attack. Some people stood behind them. Others stayed in their chairs, curious. Mason was playing in a corner, understanding nothing. I opened the first tab. College. "Robert, how old were you when you entered technical high school?" 15, he replied, impatient. "What does this have to do with anything?" "Everything." I took the first stack of receipts, put it on the table. "These are your tuition fees, all paid by me. Do you know with what? With sewing and cleaning. Here is the amount. Here is the date. Here is my name." Stephanie's mother leaned in to see. Her sisters, too. Stephanie rolled her eyes. "Oh, Evelyn, every mother helps her son." "That's not a debt. It's an obligation." I stared at her. Obligation is feeding, giving shelter, giving basic education, expensive private school and engineering college? No, that was my choice, and my sacrifice. I opened the second tab, Mom's house. Showed the proof of sale of my mother's property. This was the house my mother left me. I sold it to give you an education, Robert. $50,000. All of it went to your future. So you wouldn't be just another person depending on favors. Remember when I said I had figured it out? He remained silent, jaw clenched. Well, that was the figure out. Selling my inheritance to give you a future. A murmur started around us. Stephanie's mother looked at her daughter, not quite understanding. I opened the third tab, transfers. Spread some bank statements on the table. Here are the deposits I made to your account every month during college. For you to eat, get around, buy books. $28,000 over 4 years. Where does all that come from, Robert? From the floors I scrubbed in other people's houses. From the clothes I washed for the whole neighborhood. He tried to react. Mom, I know that. I was always grateful. Were you? I looked firmly. Is that how gratitude speaks? If you don't want the nursing home, get out right now? The silence became heavy. Someone coughed, uncomfortable. Mason stopped playing for a second and looked toward the table. I opened the fourth tab. House. Took out the copy of the deed. Pointed my finger. This is the deed to the house where you live, Robert. Here, in the down payment section, is my name. $30,000 paid by me. You invited me to live with you saying you were going to take care of me. And then you kicked me out of the house I helped put bricks on. Stephanie's mother pulled the paper closer. Stephanie, did you know about this? She paled. Must be a notary error. Whatever. Error is what you guys did to me, I replied. The notary doesn't invent names. Robert ran his hand over his face. Mom, this doesn't justify the way you're doing this now. It looks like you want to humiliate me. Me? I leaned forward. I'm just showing what is mine. Who humiliated me was you when you sent me to a nursing home in front of the neighbors. I opened the fifth tab. Loan. Placed the copy of the notarized contract in the center of the table. Now, let's talk about what is officially debt. Loan of $20,000 signed by you with a 90-day term. What was it for again? Robert stayed quiet. You told me the company delayed your salary, that things were tight, that it was temporary. Remember? Stephanie tried to jump in. He'll pay you, Evelyn. You're making a huge deal over money. He'll pay? I smirked. Interesting. Because the deadline is up. And instead of paying me, he bought a new car for you. I showed the photos of the car, the recent financing in her name. Now the one who turned red was Stephanie. You stalked our life, is that it? You're sick. Sick was how I felt when I left that sidewalk carrying bags, after hearing from my son that if I didn't want the asylum, I should leave, I replied. Now I'm just lucid. I looked around. Everyone was silent. The meat on the grill was overcooking and no one remembered to flip it. Stephanie's mother clasped her hands in her lap. But that's not all. I opened the last tab. Fraud and double life. Took out the printouts of the photos with the other woman. Placed them on the table, facing them. Is that me? I asked, looking at Robert. He went white. Who is she, Robert? One of the sisters-in-law asked. Stephanie grabbed one of the photos. Looked. Froze. Who is this woman? He stuttered. It's a co-worker. It was a team dinner. Before he finished, I put another paper next to it. Summary of credit card expenses, expensive dinners, hotels, trips. Team dinner that costs $50,000 in 6 months? I asked. While you told me your salary was late? While you asked me for borrowed money and called me a burden in the house? Stephanie's face changed. Hers, not mine. The color drained. Then it all came back at once in a flush of rage. 50,000, Robert? Stephanie, it's not like that. She stood up from the chair abruptly, knocking over her glass. Water spilled on the table. Nobody cared. You were cheating on me and using the money you owed your mother? Is that it? He stood up too, trying to grab her arm. She pulled back forcefully. Let go of me. Some people tried to intervene. Her mother put her hand to her head. The mood changed completely. I stayed seated, firm. Before you resolve your marriage, I interrupted. There is a detail. This loan is already in court. This week, a debt collection lawsuit was filed with a request to freeze assets. And all these documents here, I pointed to the table, are attached. Robert stared at me, now with fear. You sued me? No, Robert. I defended myself. Who put me in this position was you. This will ruin my name, he muttered. Who ruined your name was yourself when you chose to lie, divert money, and throw me out of the house. Stephanie looked at him as if she were seeing a stranger. You didn't tell me any of this. Nothing. You said your mother was ungrateful, that she kept bringing up the past, that she made drama. You made me think she was the problem. She looked at me. Evelyn, I didn't know about these papers, truly. But you knew he owed me $20,000 and bought a car. You knew, I replied, without softening. You knew he kicked me out on the street. You knew he touched my things, threw my radio away, took me out of my grandson's life. You might not have signed these documents, but you pushed the door along with him. She opened her mouth to answer, but nothing came. Just tears in her eyes, not for me, for her, for the life that was crumbling there. It was then that I heard Mr. Harrison's voice. Excuse me. He walked in through the gate, accompanied by a young man with a leather briefcase. He greeted everyone with a restrained nod. Robert, good afternoon. I am your mother's attorney. Robert ran his hand through his hair, desperate. She brought a lawyer to the party. Is that it? It's not a party for me, son, I replied. It's a hearing. Mr. Harrison approached the table. Mr. Robert, as Miss Evelyn's attorney, I just need to make one thing clear in front of everyone here. The lawsuit has already been filed. The lady gave several chances for a settlement before reaching this point. You didn't want to talk. Now everything she presented here today, he pointed to the papers, will be analyzed by a judge. And from what I've seen, the situation is not good for your side. I can pay, Robert said fast. I'll pay. No need for all this. Now you will pay with interest, adjustments, and social consequences, Mr. Harrison replied. And there is also the matter of her share in the house. Share how? An aunt of Stephanie asked. His mother is listed on the deed as the payer of the down payment, the lawyer explained. This gives real rights. If necessary, the court can determine a partial lien on the property. Robert put his hand to his chest, as if he lacked air. You're going to leave me homeless, Mom? I looked right into his eyes. You left me homeless first. The difference is that I'm giving you what you didn't give me, a chance. I don't want your house. I want respect. I want what is mine back. And the rest, the justice system resolves. He finally crumbled, sat down again, put his face in his hands, started to cry. Not that pretty movie crying. It was ugly, heavy, too late. Stephanie stood, motionless, then slowly took the ring off her finger, put it on the table. Fix your life with your mother first, then look for me, if I still want to listen to you. She walked out without looking back. Her mother went after her, crying. The sisters whispered, stunned. Mason watched everything without understanding, hugging a toy car. I stood up, gathered the papers, put them in the binder. I left only the loan contract on the table, in front of Robert. This is the minimum you owe me. The rest, life will charge you. He looked at me, face wet. Mom, forgive me. I don't know how I got to this point. You got here one step at a time, I cut in. Every time you saw me swallow humiliation in silence and thought you could go a little further. Now, the one who decides the limit isn't you anymore. It's me. I took my bag, looked around. I'm not here to destroy anyone. I'm here to say it's over. Done using me, pushing me, treating me like a burden. I exist, and starting today, I will exist far away from you. I turned to Mr. Harrison. Do we need anything else? Just your signature later, at the office, to authorize full proceedings, he replied. Here, we are done. I looked one last time at Mason. He stared at me, serious. I raised my hand, a small wave. I didn't call him. I didn't make a scene. Just showed him that I saw him. And that, despite everything, I had no hate. I walked out the same door I entered, but I wasn't the same woman. I left light. I walked out of that driveway with the sun on my back and a weight lifting off my shoulders. I didn't look back. Carol was waiting for me in the car, 2 blocks down. When I got in, she just asked, Is it over? It's over. She drove in silence to her house. On the way, I called Mr. Harrison. He had already received a message from a colleague at the courthouse. The suit had been processed, emergency injunction granted, Robert's accounts frozen until payment. Good luck to him now, the lawyer said. You did the right thing. I hung up. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. The consequences came fast. Robert called the next day, voice hoarse, as if he hadn't slept. Mom, the bank froze my account. I can't even pay the electric bill. What did you do? What you signed for, I replied. Pay the loan and the rest goes back to normal. He cried on the phone, asked to see Mason, said Stephanie had gone to her mother's house with the boy and locked the door on him. She thinks I cheated on her with that woman, but it was just a mistake, Mom. A mistake. To err is human. To lie to take money from your own mother is not, I said. Fix it with her. I'm taking care of me. I hung up, didn't answer any more calls from him for 2 weeks. Stephanie sent a message once. You destroyed my family, Evelyn. I blocked the number. A week later, Mr. Harrison called me to the office. Robert had gone there alone. He signed a settlement. He would pay the $23,000 in 12 installments. He recognized the house down payment as a moral debt and promised to return the $30,000 in 6 months. He signed everything in front of the notary. No long trial. He's paying the first installment tomorrow, the lawyer said. And the part about your mother's house and transfers, we leave that as a lesson. But if he is late 1 month, everything reopens. I accepted. Not out of pity. Out of efficiency. Justice doesn't need a courtroom when paper is enough. Stephanie's family spread the news. Neighbors commented. The construction firm called Robert for a talk. He resigned before they fired him. Stephanie put the car up for sale to pay debts. Her mother called me once, asking for peace. He is destroyed, Evelyn. I replied. Now he knows what it's like to be a burden. I didn't celebrate. I didn't laugh. Justice doesn't bring euphoria. It brings peace. And peace I felt for the first time in years. With Robert's first payment, I rented a small house in the center of town, 2 blocks from the square, 1 bedroom, living room, kitchenette, a small yard with a maple tree. No luxury, but mine. I paid 3 months in advance, bought a new fridge, a simple stove, and a wooden table. I brought my Singer machine to the living room, installed a shelf for fabric, bought thread, needles, scissors. I went back to sewing, but now only what I wanted. A wedding dress for a neighbor's daughter, uniforms for the elementary school, curtains for a corner shop. In the first month, I earned $1,500, more than enough. I saved half. I spent the rest on things for me, a new fan, soft bed sheets, a pair of glasses I had needed for 2 years. I woke up early every day. At 6, coffee with warm bread from the bakery on the corner. Then, a walk in the square. I sat on the bench, watched the people, old folks playing chess, kids running, normal people living. I made friends with Mrs. Rose, who sold flowers at the market, and Mr. John, a retiree who tended the flower beds in the square. They invited me for coffee, told stories. I told mine, without bitterness, just facts. Every Saturday, I video called Mason. Stephanie answered at first, dry. He's here. She put the phone in front of him. Hi, Grandma. He smiled, showed a new toy. I said, take care, my love. Study hard. Little by little, Stephanie softened. He asks about you. She let him talk longer. Robert tried to contact me, sent messages. Mom, can I see you? I replied, when you pay everything, we talk like adults. He paid on time, precisely. The 9th installment came this week. I haven't forgiven him yet. Maybe never. But I let go. He doesn't run my life anymore. I do. I bought an old bicycle at a yard sale. Painted it blue. I go out with it in the afternoon, pedal to the river. I stop on the bank, watch the water flow. I think about everything I went through. Not with anger, with clarity. I started from 0, but with dignity. And that is worth more than any money that has ever passed through my hands. Love is not humiliation. Respect is the minimum one should give. No one deserves to be treated like dead weight in their own family. Starting over has no age limit. It takes courage. And dignity isn't begged for. It is lived. If this story touched you, comment here which city you are listening from, and stay with me for the next videos that will appear on the screen. Someone might need to hear this today.